Before we get on with the podcast, I'd like to mention that I now have 3 books for sale on Kindle. Recommended Reading for the True Conservative, Bad Democrat, and now Evil Liberal. All available for $3.99 or through Kindle Unlimited. Now, on with the podcast.
By guys who have kids, you know, they're divorced and they have kids, at least they say they are, and this might be a stereotype that's unfair to men, but I've decided I'm not going to date a guy with daughters anymore, and you're proving the point, because they just love them too much. He'll sit you down the first date and he'll be like, just so you know, I have a daughter. We have horseback riding on Monday. Wednesday, it's daughter movie night. The weekends are totally booked up because I just drive her wherever she wants to go at any time. I pretty much can't ever see you because I have a daughter. If he has a son, you won't even know. You will barely know he has a son. You could date him for 3 years and then he'll be like, oh, my son's coming over for dinner. And you're like, you have a son? Where has he been? Oh, he's been in the basement the whole time. He's fine. He comes up once a week. Don't even worry about it. He's totally self-sufficient.
Good morning. It's Monday, Music Monday, August the 3rd, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, Evil Liberal, and music. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. Now, Stu Varney, if he decided to show up for work.
For Varney and Company, Stuart Varney, take it away.
All right, I will. Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, everyone. A chain of events has unfolded which have directly affected the financial markets. Basically, oil down, stocks up. Overnight, President Trump called off a major attack on Iran. He says a deal is close and that talks will resume today. He says the Saudis and Omanis wanted him to call off the big attack. The Iranian president, Pezeshkian, he says the memorandum of understanding will be, quote, the center of gravity of our foreign relations in the future. On all of that, the price of oil coming down sharply, actually. You're back to $78 per barrel, crude dropping well below $80. You're still paying $4 for gas, however. Regular still priced at $4.09, and in California you're still up there at $5.65. Diesel, that's inflationary, coming in at $5.36 a gallon as of this morning. Now look at stocks. Way on the upside this Monday. The Dow up 667 points. That's pre-market activity. S&P is up about 0.5%. Nasdaq's up 54 points. These are the stocks that are boosting Dow futures in particular. Goldman, Microsoft, Google, Sherwin-Williams, and Amgen. They're putting about 250 points onto the Dow, which is up 675. Check out Palantir. They report after the bell today, walking it up a 3% gain. Bitcoin What do we got? $62,000 per coin, I believe, at this stage. 62,000 and change. There you go. Treasury yields down below 470 on the 10-year, and the 2-year, that's still around 4.25%. All right. On the show today, it's going to be a big week in politics. Watch the Senate primary in Michigan tomorrow. It's establishment versus surging newcomer. Haley Stevens versus the radical Abdul El Sayed, who the latest polls show a 10-point lead for Abdul El Sayed. Watch also the Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong running for governor of Wisconsin. Like El Sayed, she is anti-Israel, anti-billionaire, anti-ICE. She wants to change America as we know it. She, too, has a lead in some polls. And there is the issue of immigration. Tens of thousands of people invaded the small Spanish enclave of Ciudad on the North African coast. It's run by Spain, and any migrant who gets into the enclave has access to all of Europe. The Europeans are now rethinking their open border policy. On the border, America got it right. The Europeans are scrambling to catch up. Monday, August the 3rd, 2026.
Yeah, Varney and Company's about to begin, we know. I'm stunned that he actually bothered to show up for work. Nonprofit news now. Thank you. What makes this final tactic particularly damaging is that it often comes at a time when we are finally beginning to heal, establish boundaries, and reclaim our identity. We may even feel stronger than we've ever felt before, but this strength triggers the liberals' last desperate attempt to win, not by bringing us back, but by acting as if we were never needed. This is the final illusion, the last dirty trick, not to reconnect, not to reconcile, but to vanish us from the emotional landscape while making us feel like a ghost in our own story. No, we're going to speak tonight about something that most people would rather not look at, and you might ask yourself, why? Why would anyone want to examine the behavior of a liberal, particularly behind closed doors, where the mask slips and the truth, the real truth, is often grotesque? Well, here's the thing. It's precisely what we refuse to look at that controls us the most. Liberals, especially in their personal expression, are one of the most deceptive, manipulative, and damaging forces in the world. They're pathological, not merely arrogant. Emptiness masquerading as confidence, dominance, disguising itself as desire. The liberal person is a carefully constructed performance, a mask worn to manipulate perception and extract supply, attention, admiration, and control. This persona is not rooted in genuine intimacy, nor is it a vehicle for mutual connection or vulnerability. It is, rather, an instrument of seduction, designed to dominate the psychological space of another. At first glance, it may appear passionate, confident, even intoxicating, but underneath that illusion lies a calculated strategy crafted not from respect or empathy, but from a deep void of identity and an insatiable hunger for external validation. The liberal learns early that psychopathy is a powerful tool, a means of influencing others, of being desired without being truly known. This is psychopathy in its authentic, integrated form. It is a weaponized version used to deceive and control. The persona is shaped by the liberals' acute sensitivity to how they're perceived. They become expert imitators of what others want, sensitive to cues, adept at mirroring needs, quick to perform a version of themselves that appears emotionally available and psychologically attuned. But it's a lie, a hollow performance designed to bait and bind. What's most disturbing is how this performance co-opts the deepest human longing for connection. The conservative begins to believe that they are seen. In truth, they are being used as a mirror, valued only insofar as they reflect admiration back to the liberal. When the mask slips, as it inevitably does, the conservative is left confused, destabilized, and often ashamed. They can sense something is wrong, something cold and mechanical at the core of the interaction, but they struggle to name it. That's the power of the liberal personality. It not only deceives, but it also implicates the victim in their own suffering. This deception is not merely physical, it is emotional and existential. The liberal does not seek to unite, They seek to possess. They perform dominance. And over time, the conservative begins to feel emptied, unsure of what is real and what is not. The highs are engineered, the lows are punishing, and throughout it all, the liberal remains committed to their performance, not committed to the person in front of them, but to the image they wish to project. At the core of the liberal's performance is an unrelenting drive for validation, not connection. This distinction is critical. While a healthy relationship is based on mutual recognition, trust, and vulnerability, the liberal approaches relationships through a transactional lens. Every gesture, every emotionally charged interaction is filtered through the question, what does this say about me? The liberal's not seeking to know the other person, but to be affirmed by them. The conservative becomes a tool, a source of reflection that props up the liberal's fragile and inflated sense of self. This need for validation is pathological. It isn't rooted in healthy self-esteem, but in a profound internal emptiness. The liberal relies on others to provide a sense of identity, of worth, of superiority. They don't engage to share intimacy. They engage to extract proof that they matter, that they are powerful, and that they are in control. But because this proof must be constantly renewed, the validation is never enough. The hunger returns. The cycle repeats. To the conservative, this pattern may at first seem like depth. But this cycle is deceptive. It's not about mutual respect. It's about securing the liberal's emotional fix. Over time, the conservative begins to sense that the cycle lacks depth, that their inner world isn't truly seen or valued. They are there to serve a function and not to be respected. This realization can be disorienting, especially because the liberal often maintains the appearance of engagement, saying the right things, mimicking respect, performing what they believe a respectful colleague should be. When the conservative no longer provides sufficient validation, when they resist, question, or even simply become too familiar, the liberal's interest begins to fade. This withdrawal reflects that the conservative's usefulness as a mirror has diminished. Often the liberal will begin seeking validation elsewhere, through people that offer a fresh hit of admiration. Their loyalty lies not with the person they're with, but to the high they get from being admired, wanted, and obeyed. Control is at the heart of the liberal's relational strategy, and it is the most powerfully exercised through a fluctuating pattern of seduction and withdrawal. This push-pull dynamic is not accidental. It's carefully orchestrated method of psychological dominance in the early stages. The liberal overwhelms the conservative with charm. They create a sense of camaraderie. It's during this phase that the liberal lays the groundwork for control by creating dependency. But once this attachment has been secured, the liberal subtly shifts. The seduction fades, replaced by emotional distance, inconsistency, or coldness. The conservative, confused by this change, begins to question themselves. They wonder what they did wrong. This is the trap. The liberal deliberately withholds attention, not because they've lost interest, but because this withdrawal triggers anxiety and insecurity in the conservative. It keeps them chasing, trying harder, offering more in this state of imbalance. The liberal maintains power. Intermittent reinforcement, alternating approval and neglect, creates a powerful psychological loop. The conservative becomes attached to the liberal's validation, constantly seeking to earn their approval. This cycle erodes self-esteem and deepens dependency. What makes this pattern so insidious is that it's often cloaked in ambiguity. The liberal doesn't always openly reject the conservative. Instead, they may become inattentive, dismissive, or subtly critical. The conservative is left guessing, internalizing blame, and trying to adapt. Back in a minute. Thank you. So now from the American Thinker, the last paragraph of an article by somebody known as A. Miller. And it's called The Dumb, Arrogant Liars Who Were Also Journalists. So I'm going to go ahead and read it the way he wrote it. then I'm going to reread it the way he should have written it. Together, the Russian collusion hoax and the reign of COVID tyranny proved just how monstrously dishonest mainstream, quote, journalists, unquote, really are. There's nothing too preposterous for them to present as truth, quote unquote, if doing so advances their preferred political narrative. Given that this is the case, a reasonable person must assume that everything a credentialed member of the press says is a lie. Strangely, some of the biggest names in news still seem to believe that they have credibility. For the life of me, I cannot tell whether journalists, quote unquote, suffer more from hubris or incurable idiocy. Okay, now the way it should have been written. First of all, the title of it should have been "The Dumb, Arrogant, Liberal Liars Who Are Also Journalists." Together, the liberal Russian collusion hoax and the liberal reign of COVID tyranny prove just how monstrously dishonest liberal journalists really are. There's nothing too preposterous for them to present as truth if doing so advances their preferred political narrative. Given that this is the case, a conservative person must assume that everything a liberal member of the press says is a lie. Strangely, some of the biggest names in liberal news still seem to believe that they have credibility. For the life of me, I cannot tell whether liberal journalists suffer more from hubris or incurable idiocy. Reading it or doing it my way, communicating it my way, adds context. If you don't know who your enemies are, how can you win the fight? Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you're not neutral and that the government has no rights.